Since early 2025, Deep Sleep Stories has been shared freely, and I'm so grateful for your support. To keep the show sustainable, we're making a change. Free episodes will now come out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and they'll include brief ads only at the very beginning. If you'd like the full experience, premium membership on Patreon includes daily episodes, ad-free listening, no extra announcements, the full back catalog ad-free, and a private feed for your favorite podcast app. Spotify listeners should find the experience stays essentially the same after signing up. If you choose to join, you'll be directly helping support the show and keep it going. The link for signing up for premium can be found in the episode show notes. And whether you listen on the free feed or as a member, thank you for being here.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. Tonight you'll drift into Island Hammock Nights, where warm sea air and gentle tides carry you toward deep, easy sleep. Settle yourself as comfortably as you can, letting your body find its own perfect position. Feel how the surface beneath you supports you without asking anything in return. Let your jaw soften. Let the tiny muscles around your eyes loosen, as if they're melting into rest. Imagine the room around you growing quieter, not by force but by choice. Sounds may still come and go, yet you do not need to follow them. They can pass like clouds across a wide, patient sky. Now breathe in slowly and let the breath go with a long, unhurried exhale. Again, a gentle inhale, as if you are sipping calm through a straw, and a soft exhale, as if you are setting down a heavy bag you didn't realize you were carrying. With each breath, invite your shoulders to drop, your hands to unclench, your belly to loosen. Picture a shoreline far away, the kind that holds moonlight like silk. The sand is pale and cool, and the ocean speaks in quiet, repeating phrases. The air is salty and mild, and somewhere nearby palms whisper in a language made of leaves. You don't need to do anything here. You only need to arrive and allow the night to welcome you. Keep breathing at your own pace. Let your thoughts become fewer, like lanterns dimming along a path. If a thought appears, you can nod to it kindly and let it float onward. There is no problem to solve. There is only the slow, steady invitation of rest. And as you continue to soften, the story begins to unfold, gently shifting its gaze away from you so you can relax even more deeply. On an island that seemed to have been placed carefully into the sea, as if the world wanted to keep a secret, there was a narrow crescent of beach where the water always arrived politely. The tide did not crash there. It came in with a hush, spreading itself thin across the sand, then drawing back with a silky sigh, leaving behind tiny beads of foam that disappeared like dreams at waking. The island had a small heart of green, a soft rise of land covered with palms and flowering shrubs. In the evening, the leaves held onto the last warmth of the day, and as twilight approached, that warmth rose slowly into the air, making the whole place feel cradled and gentle, like a hand resting lightly over a sleeping child's back. A traveler arrived on this island with no urgency. The traveler's boat was a simple one, the kind that did not boast or hurry. It glided toward the shore as the sky turned from bright blue to a deeper shade, and then to a velvet dusk that promised stars. The traveler stepped onto the sand and paused, letting their feet sink a little, letting the grains cool their souls. They did not bring many belongings. There was a small bag light enough to carry without effort, and the kind of quiet that comes from being willing to let the world be as it is. No one met the traveler on the shore, and yet the island did not feel empty. It felt attentive. It felt like a place that listened. A path softened by many footsteps and many rains led away from the beach and into the palm grove. Along the edge of the path, tiny flowers leaned outward as if curious. Their scent was faint and sweet, drifting in small waves that mingled with the salt of the sea. The traveler followed the path without needing to think about it. The way was clear. The air grew cooler under the canopy of palms, and the sounds changed. The ocean became a distant, steady heartbeat, while closer by, the leaves made a whispering chorus. Somewhere, a gecko clicked softly, and a night bird offered a low, content call. The path opened into a small clearing that seemed made for rest. In the center stood two palms that curved toward each other in a friendly way, their trunks sturdy and smooth. Between them hung a hammock woven from pale, strong fibers, swaying gently even though no breeze was obvious. It moved as if it remembered comfort. Beside the hammock was a low wooden table worn smooth by time, holding a lantern and a clay cup. The lantern was unlit, but it looked ready, like a small sun waiting to be invited. The cup held fresh water with a slice of lime floating on top, and the scent of citrus rose faintly, clean and bright. A few steps away, a small hut stood with its door open, as if it had been expecting a guest. Inside, the traveler could see a neatly folded blanket, a pillow filled with soft down, and a shelf with a few shells arranged like small treasures. A simple wind chime hung near the doorway, made of thin pieces of bamboo that clicked together with the gentlest touch. The traveler set their bag down in the hut, then returned to the clearing, drawn to the hammock as naturally as a bird is drawn to a branch. They ran a hand along the woven fibers, feeling the texture beneath their fingertips. The hammock was cool at first, then warmed quickly, as if it knew it was meant to hold someone through the night. Beyond the clearing, the land dipped slightly and the palms thinned, revealing a view of the sea. From here, the traveler could see the horizon, where the last light of sunset had become a faint ribbon of gold. Above it, the sky was deepening into indigo, and the first stars were beginning to appear, timid at first, then more confident as twilight released its hold. The traveler did not feel the need to rush into the hammock. Instead, they moved slowly toward the beach, guided by the sound of water. Their steps were quiet, and the sand welcomed each footfall with a soft, muffled sigh. At the shoreline, the traveler crouched and let the ocean wash over their hands. The water was cool and soothing, and it slipped between their fingers like satin. A small wave rolled in, brushed their wrists, and retreated, leaving behind a faint shimmer as if the sea carried a little starlight even before the stars fully arrived. Farther out, the water darkened, and the surface reflected the growing night. The traveler watched as a fish jumped once, leaving a circle of ripples that spread outward and vanished. The rhythm of the tide was steady and calm, the kind of rhythm that made it easy to forget time. Behind the traveler, the palm grove rustled gently. The clearing waited. The hammock waited. The whole island seemed to be breathing with the traveler, in and out, slow and easy. When the traveler returned to the clearing, the lantern had somehow come to life, glowing softly without any visible flame. Its light was warm and low, like honey. It did not push against the darkness. It simply offered a small, comforting pool of glow. The traveler did not question it. The island did not feel like a place that needed explanations. It felt like a place where small wonders could be as natural as the tide. They lifted the clay cup, took a sip of water, and tasted the crisp hint of lime. It was refreshing in the way that made the mind feel clearer, as if worries had been washed clean and set aside. Then, with a slow, careful movement, the traveler sat in the hammock. The woven fibers gave gently under their weight, and the hammock dipped, then steadied, then began to sway in a small arc. The traveler lay back, letting the hammock cradle them, letting the night air touch their skin. Above, the palms framed the sky in a soft, lacy pattern of leaves. The traveler could see stars through the gaps, scattered like salt across a dark cloth. Some stars seemed brighter than others, and as the traveler watched, it felt as if they were slowly gathering, arranging themselves into patterns that were almost familiar. The hammock's sway was like breathing made visible, forward and back, forward and back. A small motion that asked for nothing except surrender. The traveler's thoughts began to slow. The island's sounds filled the spaces where thoughts might have crowded in. The ocean's hush, the palms' whisper, the quiet clicking of bamboo chimes, the occasional soft call of a night creature, a reminder that life continued in gentle, unseen ways. A breeze drifted through the clearing, carrying the scent of the sea and something else. Perhaps night-blooming jasmine, perhaps warm coconut husk, perhaps the faint sweetness of distant flowers. The traveler inhaled, and the scent seemed to loosen something inside them, as if their chest expanded a little more easily. In the hammock, the traveler's body found its own comfort. Their shoulders settled, their legs relaxed. Their hands rested on their belly, rising and falling with each breath. The lantern's glow flickered slightly, not from wind, but from a kind of softness, as if it too was growing sleepy. At the edge of the clearing, a small crab appeared, moving sideways with delicate confidence. It paused, as if considering the traveler, then continued on, disappearing into the shadows. The traveler watched without needing to name the moment. It was enough to see it, then let it go. Above, the sky deepened further and the stars multiplied. A faint band of milky light stretched across the darkness, like a river made of distant glitter. The traveler's eyes traced it lazily, and the effort of seeing became less important than the feeling of being held by the night. Somewhere on the island, a soft, rhythmic tapping began. Perhaps a branch brushing another branch, perhaps a distant coconut shifting in its husk. It was a slow sound, steady and reassuring. The traveler's eyelids grew heavy, but they did not close completely. Not yet. The night was offering more. From the beach there came a subtle glow, a faint bluish light that pulsed and faded. The traveler turned their head slightly, just enough to see the shoreline beyond the palms. Each time the tide drew back, the water left a thin sheen on the sand, and within that sheen, tiny points of blue light flickered like stars caught in a net. Bioluminescence, the traveler thought, but the word itself felt too sharp for the softness of the moment. They let the idea dissolve and simply watched the gentle glitter as it came and went, a quiet miracle repeating with the tide. The hammock continued to sway. The traveler's breath matched it without effort. In the hut, the folded blanket waited, but the traveler did not feel the need to move. The hammock was perfect, a suspended nest between earth and sky. The palms above seemed to lean inward, their fronds overlapping slightly, making a canopy that felt protective. The traveler's mind drifted toward the thought that the island itself was watching over them, not in an alert, guarding way, but in the way a warm room holds a sleeping person, simply by being. As the night grew fuller, the air became cooler, but not cold. It was the kind of coolness that felt refreshing against the skin, a gentle contrast to the day's warmth. The traveler reached for the blanket that had been placed neatly at the edge of the hammock. It was softer than it looked, woven with fibers that felt like cotton and silk combined. They pulled it up over their body, and warmth settled around them like a slow sigh. The bamboo wind chime clicked again, a small wooden melody. Each click was spaced out, unhurried, as if time itself had chosen to slow down. On the edge of the clearing, where the shadows were deeper, something shifted softly. The traveler's eyes moved, and they saw a figure, not frightening, not even fully solid, but present in a calm, almost familiar way. It looked like a person made of moonlight and sea mist, the outline gentle, the features indistinct. As if the night did not need details, the traveler did not sit up. They did not feel alarm. The figure felt like part of the island, the way a breeze is part of the air. It stepped into the lantern's glow, and the light did not cling to it. Instead, the glow seemed to pass through, as if the figure was made of something thinner than air and softer than dream. The traveler watched with a quiet curiosity, the kind that does not demand answers. The figure lifted a hand, and the palms above rustled in response, as if acknowledging a greeting. It moved toward the hammock slowly, and the hammock's sway seemed to become even gentler, as if the figure carried calm with it. When it reached the traveler, the figure did not speak in words. Instead, it offered a feeling, like being told, without language, that this was a safe place, that rest was allowed, that the night had room for softness. The travelers' breathing deepened and their muscles loosened further. The figure's presence was like a lullaby without sound. The figure turned its face toward the sea, and the traveler followed its gaze. The shoreline shimmered again with blue light. Farther out, the ocean reflected the stars, and it looked like the sky had spilled down into the water. The figure made a small gesture, and the air seemed to grow thicker with peace, as if calm could be poured like warm tea into the space around the hammock. In that thickened calm, the traveler's mind began to drift more fully. Images rose and faded without sharp edges, a memory of sunlight on water, a feeling of walking barefoot through grass, the sound of laughter far away, softened by distance and time. The figure remained nearby, quiet and still, a gentle sentinel of the night. Not a guard against danger, but a reminder that nothing needed to be guarded. Here, there was only the slow turning of the world, the steady pulse of tide and breath. Some time passed, though time on the island did not behave in straight lines. It moved in circles like the moon's path, like the tide's return. The traveler's eyes closed for longer moments now, opening only briefly to take in the lantern's warm glow, the palms' silhouettes, the stars' soft shimmer. Each time the eyes closed, the world felt more distant, and the hammock felt more like floating. From the sea came a new sound, a gentle splashing close to shore. The traveler's eyes opened again, and through the palms they saw movement near the waterline. A sea turtle, slow and steady, was making its way up the beach. Its shell caught a bit of moonlight shining softly. It moved with ancient patience, each flipper pressing into sand, each pause unhurried. The traveler watched as it reached a spot higher on the shore, then began to dig with slow, careful motions. The sand lifted and fell, lifted and fell, like the turtle was stirring the earth into a small, secret bowl. The traveler's breathing stayed slow. Watching the turtle felt like watching a ritual of calm. The turtle did not hurry, it did not worry, it simply did what it had come to do, guided by something older than thought. When the turtle finished, it covered the place again, smoothing the sand gently as if tucking something in. Then, with the same slow steadiness, it turned back toward the sea. As it reached the water, the tide welcomed it with a soft wash, and the turtle disappeared into the dark, leaving behind only a faint trail that the next wave would erase. The traveler felt a quiet warmth in their chest, a tender sense of being part of a world that knew how to move gently. The figure of moonlight and mist shifted as if pleased. It did not need applause, it did not need acknowledgement. It simply remained a companion made of calm. The lantern's glow seemed dimmer now, not because it was fading, but because the traveler's senses were turning inward. The hammock's sway was slower too, as if the air itself was thickening into stillness. In the palm canopy, the stars looked softer, less like points and more like distant lanterns, blurred by sleep. A small lizard crept along a trunk, paused, then settled into a crevice, as if choosing its own resting place for the night. Somewhere, a tiny frog made a low, gentle sound, like a single note played quietly on a flute. The traveler's thoughts were no longer sentences. They were only feelings. Cool air, warm blanket, steady tide, gentle sway. The figure moved slightly closer, and the traveler felt, more than saw, that it was offering a final blessing of rest. The air around the hammock became even more soothing, as if wrapped in invisible cotton. Then, very slowly, the figure began to dissolve. Not in a sad way, but in a natural way, like mist rising from water at dawn. It became thinner, lighter, until it was simply part of the night again. The traveler did not need to hold on to it. The calm it brought remained behind, woven into the air, tucked into the hammock's fibers, resting in the traveler's breath. On the beach, the bioluminescent shimmer continued its gentle pulse with each wave. The island's creatures settled into their own sleep. The palms stayed still, with only the occasional whisper of leaves. The traveler's breathing was deep now, the kind that comes from a body that trusts. The hammock hardly moved. It was almost still, as if it had found the exact point of balance between earth and sky. Above, the moon climbed higher, pouring silver over the clearing. The light was soft, never harsh. It brushed the traveler's blanket and made it look like pale water. It touched the palm trunks and made their textures glow gently. It turned the sand beyond into a faint, luminous ribbon. The traveler's face was peaceful. Their brow was smooth. Their hands were quiet. The island held them, and the night held the island, and the sea held the shoreline, and the sky held the stars. If any thought tried to rise, it floated for a moment, then sank away like a leaf settling onto water. There was nothing to grasp, nothing to chase. Only this gentle, endless permission to rest. The wind chime clicked once more, then fell silent, as if it too had decided to sleep. The ocean's hush became softer, more distant, like a lullaby heard from another room. The hammock became a cradle of air. The traveler became lighter, as if their body was sinking into comfort, and their mind was drifting outward far beyond the palms, far beyond the shore, into a wide, dark, peaceful sky. The island continued to breathe, slow and steady. The tide continued to return, slow and steady. The night continued to unfold, slow and steady. And now the story begins to quiet even further, letting everything soften toward sleep. The lantern's glow is only a faint warmth now. The stars are blurred with drowsiness. The palms are still. The sea is calm. The traveler is safe. The hammock holds them. The blanket is warm. Breath in and out. Sway and still. The island does not ask for anything. It only offers the gentle music of night. The tide whispers, the sand cools, the moon watches kindly. The traveler drifts deeper, carried by soft air and softer silence. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well